There are Bitcoin price predictions everywhere on YouTube, Google, wherever you can find them. One says 80K, one says 100K, one says 300K. Let's just take a look at multiple indicators and see what the average outcome is. And the inspiration for this video is because of a community member asking me about the 5.3 theory. Now, I'm gonna explain what that is. But basically the 5.3 theory, so far it has worked out for crypto, for Bitcoin at least. But for this cycle, it's a super bearish prediction. And does it really make sense? Let's take a look at that, because if Bitcoin is going to top out at such a low price, then altcoins might not really have a huge chance right here. And is that actually what we can expect? Let's take a look at that. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, let's get right into it. So somebody asked me, what's your thoughts on the 5.3 theory of Bitcoin? It's a scary theory. Please look into it and cover it in your next episode. And I thought it was a pretty good question. So let's take a look at that. So what is the 5.3 theory exactly? The 5.3 theory is basically, if you take this cycle, the first cycle, and you take the movement from the lowest price to the highest price, you get a certain percentage of gains. If you divide that by 5.3, then that could predict the next gains for the next cycle. So if you take this number right here and you divide it by 5.3, is this the outcome? Well, it's 59,590%. And if you divide it, actually, you come to 60,000. So it's kind of accurate right there. Now, what if you divide this amount by 5.3? Does it actually give us a pretty decent number that lines up with the cycle that came after that? 11,364. What came after that? 11,973. So pretty accurate as well. What if we divide this by 5.3? Then we get 2,259. And the actual number was 2,092. So also pretty damn accurate so far, right? Now, of course, the question is, how high can Bitcoin go in this cycle? Well, if we take 2092 and we divide that by 5.3, then we get a number of 394. So that's 394% gains from the bottom to the top. I already filled that in though, and that would put Bitcoin at the top of $76,000. We already went to 73,700. So you could argue that with a couple of percentages, difference, we already kind of got there. Well, is that actually something that we should consider for this cycle? Is this the top? Can we maybe go a little higher, 80K, but somewhere around that? Is that the top for this cycle? It's in the name. The 5.3 theory is a theory. And so far this has played out, but you do not want to go off of one theory and say like, yeah, that's going to be it, because there are a lot of other theories that give us a completely different number. One, for example, the Bitcoin logarithmic regression bands. As you can see, this is already diminishing, right? The band here is going up harder than it's going up over here. And in every bear market, we go to the lower band, and every bull market, we go to the upper band. Currently, we are still sitting at the lower band. So the lower band today, if you take this upper green line, will be sitting at 84K. So even if we go there today, then it's already going higher than the 5.3 theory. And that's still bearish zone, right? Usually we go to or into or close to at least the upper band, right? And the upper band today is sitting at around 200, 300K. And by the end of this cycle, if you believe in the 4-year cycle, it's at the end of 2025, it should be sitting somewhere between 280 and 400K. Now, in this first cycle, we didn't really get there, right? So it could be that also this cycle, we do not really get there. In the other three, we did though, right? But even if we just go halfway, and that's we never went that low actually, but if we just go halfway, then it will be sitting somewhere between 280K and 150. So let's say 200K, right? That's way above the 5.3 theory, and that's even if we take into account that this diminishing indicator is bearish. Something completely different, not shown on the charts, but in my opinion, just common sense. We already got to the 5.3 level basically before the halving, right? So we have a complete cycle to go. The halving didn't happen yet. We have major inflows nowadays from the ETFs. By the time you watch this, you already know, because this video is shot before that one day. But we potentially get an Ethereum ETF. If it's getting rejected right now, then it's highly likely that we get it in August. Retail is completely not here yet. There's absolutely zero retail in the market at this point. So I cannot, with all these things in account and way more, just feel like, okay, from the top until the 5.3, we only, with all that still coming, have 3.6% to go. Like, that doesn't really make sense. Also, what's quite interesting is, if you ask me, if people feel about the 5.3 theory like, hey, so far it always played out. Yeah, what also always played out is the 4-year cycle, right? We have the top, and 2013 and 2017 and 2021. We have the bottom, beginning 2015, beginning 2019, beginning 2023. So the 4-year cycle is fully intact. Now, if you look at the time and the move that happens during that time, so it's now May 2024, so time-wise comparable to May 2020, yeah, look where we were in May 2020 and the move that came after that. Look at May 2000, my trading view is tripping balls right here. Look at May 2016 where we were and the move that came after that, because we still had 1.5 years bull market to go. Look at May 2012 and the move that came after that. Of course, like, that's diminishing, but it won't be from, 10,000%, how much percent it was over here, 600% over here, to 3% over there. That doesn't really make sense to me. Something else, if we look at the Bitcoin ROI after the halving, so how much Bitcoin gained from the halving until the highest point in that cycle, you could see, of course, they all start at 1, right? And they're all moving up quite hard after the halving. In the beginning, it's quite boring, of course, and we're now basically doing exactly the same as any other cycle. So that's also another confirmation that, if we go sideways for another at least month, right, that would confirm for me extra that this cycle is super much like the other cycles, right? But if you look how much we go up, also this is diminishing, right? Here we went up very hard, here we went up less hard, here we went up even less hard, but still quite a lot. Right? Here we went up with 7.8x. Here we went up with 27x. Here we went up with, how much was it? I don't even know how much x's this was, but 85, give or take. Right? Now, if we just stay where we are right now, that would pretty much line up with that kind of 3%, right? It would be like maybe here instead of here. But that doesn't make sense that this is doing completely this, right? Expect at least a little like this. It's also, it's like, it's not that diminishing that it's actually basically flat. And also, again, something else common sense that just pops in my mind. Like, if you now look at the elections and how everybody is so pro crypto, we have such MicroStrategy we had already, but we now have the ETFs, right? Bitcoin is trading as a stock. We now have Trump completely pro crypto, Biden turning pro crypto. Everything is getting adopted, and the whole world is basically now about it. I cannot imagine that in the coming year has just a 3% impact. It doesn't make sense at all. Also, if you look at the total crypto market compared to its fair value, you can see that in every, the red line is the fair value. In every bull market, we go well above it. And in every bear market, we go well below it, right? If you look where we are right now, we are now just sitting below it. Again, a 3% move is basically not really going to change much right here, right? So also, with all these positive things and completely worldwide mass institutional and governance kind of adoption, not even big companies, but much more than that, it doesn't really make sense that we just stay at the fair value, right? Like this bull market has way more adoption than it did over here. And of course, it now takes more to move the price, but that's not a reason for the fair value to basically just, for Bitcoin to stay at the fair value right now. Also, in this bull market, it should go well above it. Something else, the social risk, measuring how much people are still in crypto by subscribing to YouTube video channels, watching YouTube videos, following people on Twitter, etc. This is sitting at 0, right? It's completely flat. Right? No new people are stepping in. The people that are already here, okay, you can't measure that by new YouTube subscribers, for example, but even the people that are already here, they're not watching any YouTube videos, etc. It's completely flat at 0, right? This always, when it's at 0, right, it shoots up, right? Whenever the Bitcoin price is making new all-time highs, we have the all-time high over here, we broke it over here, and that's really where the retail stepped in. Retail is always stepping in eventually. I cannot imagine that doesn't have effects and that doesn't move the price. Now, there's so much more that you can take a look at, right? Like Fibonacci. That's also a tool. It's the best, almost want to say prediction tool there is, as so much more. But, am I fully against the idea of a 5.3 theory? Yeah, it would be stupid to be fully against it because so far it has always worked, right? So why not next time? But if the 5.3 theory plays out, it also means that a lot of other indicators that's always worked so far are not going to play out because these are contradictive. So one of the so far always right indicators is going to be wrong this cycle. That could be the 5.3 theory that's going to be wrong this time. Now, what's a possibility, but that's also a theory, is that yes, Bitcoin could top out somewhere around 80K maybe, but by that time there will be an Ethereum ETF maybe that sets off a full altcoin season, and that's maybe the reason that Bitcoin is not going any further than 80K, because all the money is going to be floating into altcoins, and that pushes the Bitcoin dominance down. That's the reason that Bitcoin doesn't necessarily go up, but that altcoins completely explode right there. That new money is coming in, but instead of going into Bitcoin, which would have put Bitcoin at 100K or more, that is going to come into altcoins. So it could be, it could be right, and that there's still money to be made in this market. That's also a theory, although it seems highly unlikely to me that there is basically no more money at all coming into Bitcoin anyway. There's always money coming into Bitcoin. Plus, it is also a fact, demand is up, right? The demand is up in every cycle so far. More people know about Bitcoin, and like I said, now with the elections, the ETFs, it's insane, like demand from the rich organizations, right? Not just retail. It's crazy demand. But the supply is not going up, right? The inflation rate on Bitcoin is extremely low, at least. And that's the reason why Bitcoin went from a cent to 70K already, right? And this will go on. Bitcoin will be worth $1 million, and maybe not in this cycle, maybe in the next one. And if not, in the next one. But Bitcoin is kind of designed to go up, or, the demand somehow has to go down, right? But what does it take for the demand to go down? Well, people have to love the dollar again, and trust the banks, and the dollar has to be completely deflationary. Yeah, that's not going to happen, of course, right? And that's exactly the reason why Bitcoin exists. Or there has to be something else than Bitcoin that does that. But what's there that's so decentralized? Nothing. And something else as well, by the way, that just came into my mind. If you look at the MVRVZ score, in every peak of the bull market, the MVRVZ score is sitting at least above 6. But in this bull market, it was even sitting at 7. So 7 is actually the lowest number. Yeah, we are now sitting at 2.5. Right, and between 2 and 3, it's usually you buy, and between 6 and 10, it's sell. right? So it would be a bit weird that this also would be different for the first time ever, right? So, you know, believing in the 5.3 theory is of course a possibility, but there are like I've just shown like 5+ charts that also are right from the beginning. So if you say like, hey, the 5.3 theory is going to, you know, keep being intact, you also say that, hey, all these other charts that have been right from the beginning, they are all going to be wrong this time. Yeah, then you're betting 5 against 1, and that's just 5 that I mentioned. I bet that there are like 20 more. Also, if you take it from top to top, you can see 3,600% gain, 1,500% gain, 247% gain, and yeah, the 5.3 theory would eventually put it at 10% gain. Like, that's really diminishing. Like, that's not really the math that I'm looking at right here. And you can make a complete other theory as well. I mean, if you take the same kind of calculation and you take this 3,600% and you divide it by 1,547, then you will get 2.3. So welcome to the 2.3 theory, I guess. If you take this number and you divide it by this number, you get a percent of, a deviation. Is that the right word? Whatever, 6.2%. So that's completely different as well. And that's not even diminishing. So, hey, maybe, you know, let's take the average of these two. So 6.2 and 2.3 is 8.5. If we have 8.5, and again, guys, this is super fucking speculative what I'm doing right here, and this doesn't make any sense, right? But hey, it's a theory, right? Then you get 4.25, right? So the 4.25 theory is now an official thing. And if we calculate that, that's 350%, by the way, then you get a price of around $300,000, right? So I don't know. This could also be a theory, but less data for this, of course. Overall, my thoughts are, yeah, the 5.3 theory has worked so far very well. But again, it goes completely against other measurements and indicators that also have worked so far very well. And one of those has to be wrong this time because they go against each other. They can't be right both, right? So in my opinion, the 5.3 theory is coming to an end this cycle. So what is my price prediction for Bitcoin? Well, you know, I've showed you a couple charts. If you take a look at the logarithmic regression bands, etc., they all point out like, hey, 200-300K. And it could be, but it could be completely off. And it doesn't really matter for me because price predictions are kind of nonsense. Price is not something you can hold on to. Something that you can hold on to is timing, right? Because also, like we said before, every cycle so far is completely the same. And what happens within the cycle is always different, but it's always same period that it bottoms, same period that it peaks. And it all has to do with elections, the halving that's happening every 4 years, and the market just responds to that. So it's not a coincidence, it's logic, right? So my play right here is basically, well, Q3, Q4, 2025 cycles coming to an end. Whether Bitcoin is sitting at 80K or 280K, whatever the price might be by then, that's the time to really load off the latest bags that I have left. And you can make these like things for yourself, right? You can also look at, okay, how did Bitcoin respond from the halving until the top, from this halving to the top, this halving to the top, take an average of that. But again, that's probably diminishing. So is an average really that smart to do? You know, there are so many things that you can do to kind of predict what the price is doing, but predicting prices for the market is just a very dangerous thing. And predicting time is way easier. In other news, Ethereum at the moment of recording is completely ripping. Everybody is anticipating for the Ethereum ETF. Ethereum on its Bitcoin pair, the weekly candle is insane. You have to realize though, we have a weekly candle of 18%. If you take a look at this weekly candle, was basically the same, and it came to the top of this, falling wedge right here, and it eventually broke down. It was looking bullish. We were at the top. We were above the bull market support band. It was one big ass week with a lot of good news, and it still came down. Now could be the exact same thing, right? So don't cheer too soon. That hasn't worked for the last 2 years basically. So be a little careful when you want to do that right now as well, but it is looking quite healthy at least. So that's a good thing. The Bitcoin dominance is coming down nicely. Matter of fact, it is breaking this rising wedge right here. It is usually a bearish pattern, right, where you go up like this. Usually it breaks down. And if it, vice versa as well. So if you take a look at Ethereum, Bitcoin, yeah, this is a huge falling wedge, usually breaks to the upside. So it would make a lot of sense to see Ethereum go up quite hard. And you can also see that Ethereum, Bitcoin is going up. That drives the Bitcoin dominance down. And therefore, altcoins are also going up. If you look at Bitcoin, for example, on the weekly, you can see that Bitcoin is up with 5%. If we do take a look at the altcoin market, it's now up double, basically 9.5%. So an Ethereum ETF will be very healthy for altcoins. Now, there's a lot of talking lately about new projects coming out with a high, fully diluted valuation, which makes a chart look like this. And that kind of sucks. And I completely agree with that. I talk a lot about pre-sales. But the danger about these pre-sales is that, a project comes out, $500,000 market cap, sounds super attractive, of course, but the fully diluted is sitting at 20 million, for example, right? And you have a 40x vesting coming up, which is going to wreck people that are stepping into a project like this after it came out and never really gives them a good buying opportunity. So I want to be very clear about this. Whenever I talk about a good pre-sale coming up, either step into the pre-sale or stay out of it, unless I specifically mention that in that case it's a little different. But usually they have a big vesting coming up. You could see that with Portal, for example. It came up, had a extremely strong launch, but the people that buy it off of the open market never really got a good buying opportunity, as it's from the top already down with 80%, and from top to bottom it's down 84%, right? And a lot of projects look a lot worse than that. So that kind of sucks about new coins, actually. So where to invest if you feel like I want to prepare for an alt season? Well, that's not what I can tell you, of course, but what I think is going to take off, and that's what a lot of people say, not for no reason, gaming and AI. These are two things that are going to be super huge. Now, of course, we have Deepin, we have RWA, we have meme coins. Not specifically my niches. I talk more about crypto gaming and AI, as I think that's more understandable. And there's just a lot of upside because that's really used in the world. Well, real world assets as well. But I don't see really the adoption for crypto happening yet with that. But when I talk about gaming, I feel like a Ronin could definitely explode. Vocal Forge is really lagging, but I think that that's going to be a really good one. Projects like a GFAL, not saying GFAL specifically, but projects like GFAL. AVAX is really something that could be great. Chain GPT, AI Tech is a good project. Specifically, While the World is a project that's so fucking beautiful. I'm gonna say this: best crypto game, best looking crypto game by far of everything that's out there now, hands down. The whole Solana narrative, by the way, is absolutely fantastic. It shows so much strength, right? And it bounced off of $120, give or take, easily sitting back at 170. It's absolutely incredible. Spartadex has a, big crash right here, and that's because a lot of early liquidity providers got their liquidity back and they are now selling it, I guess. But this is one of the cheapest launchpads with the best allocations out there. So if you're looking for launchpads exposure, then I would say Spartadex, amazing launches, super cheap to get in, refund policies on point, professional team, I love it. And if I do have to talk about meme coins, it's not really my thing, as I'm not good at it, just gonna admit that. First time I saw Pepe, I looked at the website and I was like, yeah, but this is trash. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Trash can be like super high cap, so I cannot separate the trash from the high cap trash. But there are a couple of meme coins that I know a little bit more about, which I really like. I talked about Good Morning Fam at the beginning, and Good Morning Fam, they basically said like, okay guys, We are just not going to do this anymore, and we are going mostly or rebrand to S World, which was S NFT, as it's all by Cedify, right? And Cedify is just doing this, and it's all coming back to Cedify NFT space, their whole Cedify gaming ecosystem. They're now gonna call it Cedify Gaming, actually, and the S Fund token. So I'm gonna just stick with that. But good morning, fam. It's a project that I talked about a lot. DBI is a project that I talked about a lot, mainly because of its founder. The founder is just a guy who goes quite viral by placing these funny videos. Whenever it pumps hard. This right here was also an easy 4x, and here it did like a 10x easy. Now it's sitting really low, so research it. Might be a big buying opportunity. And this one, I'm gonna mention this one a lot more. This is Carlo. I think that Carlo is going to be a huge one. I can talk about the breadths and the dog with heads and all that kind of bullshit, but that's already so high cap. Then I feel like, yeah, you know, then I'd rather just buy an IMX or something, right? That's also high cap, but actually has the tech and the fundamentals and the use cases that back it up. Because with these coins, these meme coins, there's also a lot of downside. I only like meme coins if they are micro cap, so extremely high risk, but the reward is extremely high as well. Now with Carlo, I know for a fact they had a great launch on Oxbull. So the momentum, they seem to keep it as well. Had a big spike when they came out. Of course, sell off, but everybody got all their tokens, and now it's just stabilizing right here. And they have big things coming. They are extremely micro cap with a $2.3 million market cap. I hold my bag. I think that this is a real good one. It's on the base ecosystem, which has a great amount of hype as well. And you know, they got it all on point, man. And Carlo is gangster. I love Carlo. Look at this 20-second clip, and you know why I love this so much. He's so savage. They have so much of these videos. I don't understand why this isn't viral yet. So I just feel like, man, I don't know. It's my sense of humor, but the team is also working really hard, pushing out some stuff in the background that I absolutely love and that you would love as well. So don't fade Carlo. I fucking love I don't know why I'm not following Carlo still. I did. So please don't fade Carlo. I think that this is absolutely fantastic. So man, I hold my bags, and this is my 100x moonshot. And again, guys, I'm not gonna promise that that's going to happen. I can't foresee the future, right? But hey, this is my bet right here, and I absolutely love it. And apart from that, also, you know, don't fade the gaming studios. Of course, you can invest in a Gala, but I feel like with all the shit that's going on with Gala, the founders suing each other, and the hacks and the drains, and the focusing on making money and selling notes and not really delivering much, right? I look at playable games, I look at a Myria, I look at there's so much that you could take a look at. The IMXs, the G-Files, like I said, the launchpads like Decubate, Cedify, you know, it's too much to name. So I will make a video with all my favorite coins per niche, and one that you know, cannot fade is Web3 Whales, right? That's my project. We invest in these startups, IDOs, ICOs, seed sales, etc. And simply by just staking the Web3 Whales token, you can monthly claim your share of the profits that are coming in. And we do not play with small money right here, right? So if we invest in these early bangers, which we already kind of did with Portal, etc., then there's a real good chance of just sitting back and gaining some good passive income in this bull market, and even move in the next bear market. So check out Web3 Whales, quite low cap as well at the moment. It's going completely fantastic right here. And I think you are not ready for what's about to come with the token as well. I cannot promise stuff. I cannot talk about that too much, but I am very bullish as an investor. Let me put it like that. So that's it for today. Now, if you want to join private sales by yourself, you can check out the Patreon down below. We offer great projects in their early stage that you can invest in, and you get an insane allocation right there. So do check it out. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on. Leave down below what coins are you interested in buying for the coming bull market that I perhaps should take a look at, and we can discuss them in the next video. Take care.